You don't have to look any further than Jonathan Buckelew's LinkedIn profile one-liner introduction thing to know why I wanted him on this podcast. It reads, I talk about asset management and how to use AI plus tech in real estate. Surprise, surprise. I found him because he's really the only other guy I've seen in property management that is like just obsessively reporting on what's happening in AI. And as I got to know him, as I had him on the show, I'm like, oh my God, this guy is an asset manager, right? Like, so many property managers talk about wanting to move into asset management. And it's pretty clear to me that, if this is how you want to be viewed, you want to get in the mind of somebody that is by title an asset manager. And of course, diving into everything he's learned about AI. He recently launched the IndustrAI is what I call it, but it's like industry without a Y, and then it ends with AI. It's a newsletter about real estate and AI. So highly, highly recommend you check that out. In the meantime, I encourage you to get to know Jonathan, who is a super dynamic, really intelligent guy. Really, really great conversation with him here. He is the VP of asset management for Peak Real Estate Capital in New York. So tons of insights. Enjoy this conversation with Jonathan Buckelew. Welcome to the Property Management Frame Breakers podcast. I'm your host, Pablo Gonzalez, and I am here to introduce you to the folks in the property management space that have broken the frame of what you may believe was possible. This podcast is presented by Vendoroo. It is your all-in-one AI solution for resolving your maintenance needs. Let's go. I would love to just kind of start with this IndustrAI newsletter, right? What's the genesis of this thing? What is it that's making you want to launch this like newsletter project around it?
Yeah, so just a little backstory. My AI journey really started 6 months ago where how do I build the muscle with ChatGPT? What's Claude? What's Perplexity? What's make.com and all these automations? So I started just watching YouTube videos and playing around with these tools, and I saw the power of all of it really quickly. And I started talking to more people in the real estate industry who, as you know, are notoriously tech backwards. We're very analog and manual and stuck in 2015. We've made progress. It used to be 1990. But a lot of people didn't know everyone knew ChatGPT, but they didn't know about all these other tools. So I said, well, it's less of an opportunity. It's more of, the stuff that I'm learning, why don't I just share with my community? In concert with this AI journey, I was building my LinkedIn following, and I started talking a lot about that. So I thought, why not launch a webinar, real estate/AI webinar, where we could get a few people like me, most likely people who are ahead of me in the AI journey, to just share extremely practical use cases of how they use AI on a daily basis. And we got like 200 people to sign up for the first one. And I said, okay, there's something here.
Something there.
So I did another one and we got a little less, but still a lot of people with not a lot of advertising, just a couple of LinkedIn posts about it. And I got so many messages, John, can you share, the top 3 tools that you like? Or can you share how you're using ChatGPT and this, custom GPT that you made to save time, work smarter, all that kind of stuff. And really, I'd say about a month ago, I said, well, these webinars are great. Posting on LinkedIn is great as well, but it's too fragmented. If I was starting my journey, or if this was 6 months ago again, there's no central resource for me to go online or to talk to someone about where I could access all of this information. Okay, why not start a website? So me and a friend who I've started a company with in the past, who's not a real estate person, but he's a engineer. So he's got the tech side tool. And we wanted to be AI first. We built a website using Lovable, which is one of the, no code automation kind of AI tools out there. And we played around with it and we said, okay, what's this thing going to be? And we want it to be, and the vision is fluid and it's changeable, but ultimately we want it to be this centralized repository of real estate related AI tools and use cases and examples and webinars and resources that someone could just go here. Property managers, leasing agents, asset managers, underwriters, they could go here and find general AI use cases that apply to everybody, but then the specific ones that apply to their roles to help guide them in their AI journey, because everyone's going to have to adopt this. You're not going to be able to avoid it. And going on YouTube and trying to find a LinkedIn post in your feed is not an efficient way of doing things. And that's anti-AI. AI is supposed to make things more efficient. So that's the vision. Our first newsletter is dropping tomorrow. We have a ton of people who've subscribed already, which just further validates the need for something like this.
It's amazing, man. In talking about this a lot, I get the sense that there's a very loud section of the public that's like, AI burnout. Like, I'm so sick of hearing about AI. But like you, we've done 2 of these like AI virtual summits, and we'll get like 300 people to show up. And they're on for like 2 hours listening to us talking about AI. So it feels like a very undersupplied market with high demand in our space. It sounds like you're feeling the same thing.
Oh, absolutely. And I was that person 7 months ago.
Yeah.
January 1st, I said, if I hear another thing about ChatGPT, but the common denominator with people like that is they haven't tried, or they've done simple prompts into ChatGPT and they said, oh, this is it. You know, I asked it to create a 1-word document. Oh, I see an error. This isn't that great. It's when you start actually flexing that muscle and exercising it and seeing the power of it, then you become obsessed. Like I'm staying up till 1 o'clock in the morning on make.com or Zapier trying to figure out these connections because I'm obsessed with it, because I see the power of it. I want this to not be a replacement of, jobs or people. I think it's going to be a complete supplement and complement to it, but we all have to figure out how to use it. And the more you do it, the better you get at it. And the more time I now get to focus on $100 tasks as opposed to the $3 tasks that AI is definitely in this iteration can do by itself.
Did you have like a light bulb? Did you have like a light bulb moment where you're like, oh my God, I am behind on this thing. I need to get going on this. Like, was there like an aha for you?
Yeah. When I started talking to people in the real estate industry, which are few and far between, but those people, when I started talking to them and they showed me what they were doing, and, other asset managers, again, I'm an asset manager. I spoke to another asset manager who had all these automations set up. And I said, whoa, I could save hours of my week by doing this, by not having to drag a PDF out of my email and onto my desktop and then put it into my G Drive. I could automate that, or I could automate email responses to non-critical emails. Wow. Like that was really the oh, I'm behind this person, I must be behind other people as well. Let me catch up kind of thing. That was the light bulb moment that I kind of said, all right, I don't want to be left behind. Let me dive into this stuff.
It's interesting, man. I would say, so joining Vendoroo was like a big moment for me just because it was, okay, I'm going to go jump and like ride shotgun and like the Silicon Valley AI race kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it didn't really hit me personally until I guess it was like a couple months ago when in the same week, the CEO of Shopify, of Spotify, Duolingo, and Fiverr all had like these memos leaked. Do you remember the kind of like that moment?
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah. So like they all leaked these memos, and I was on the way to a conference, and I was gonna go over there to talk about like my view on AI. I'm like, well, I should probably read these things. And it all, as I read it, they all had different tones, right? Like one guy was like, AI is now our policy. Another guy's like, AI is our strategy. And the other guy was like, AI is the biggest threat that we've ever had, right? Obviously Fiverr.
Yeah.
But they all had really similar approaches. And all of them were, it's like, you got to lead from the front. And like, if you don't, like, it's moving so fast that you got to like jump in and iterate. And like you said, build the muscle. And the other thing that they all said was there's so much changing that you need to surround yourself with AI first thinkers, or else, like there's no way that you can possibly have like a scope of it. And I say that story to say, it sounds like that's something that happened to you, right? Like once you surrounded yourself with these like AI first thinkers, the light bulb turned on for you of just like what's possible and how to do it. What was kind of like once it turned on, what was kind of your way in? Like, have you developed any kind of like ritual to it, or do you have like goals you set for yourself on it, or are you just simply obsessed and just drinking as much as you can?
The goals are, there's specific goals to my day job that I really want to use AI agents or automations or all the above to fix lender investor reporting. That's the biggest one. My portfolio right now is 75 properties, which I've never had such a big portfolio size before. And the idea of pulling reports out of our PMS system, reviewing them, figuring out who I need to send it to, and then sending it, those are back to the $3 tasks and the hours and hours of time that it takes to do stuff like that. So there's specific goals around specific things that I do on a day-to-day basis. But in terms of my learning, there's no set goal. It's just let me continue to try to, replace the old things that I was doing with the new things. So for example, the thing that I probably do the most now out of anything, instead of going to Google, which was a hard thing to do. 20 years of typing in Google or going into my browser and just typing in, what is this? I go into Perplexity now.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at my desktop, I've got ChatGPT, Claude, and Perplexity desktop icons right there to make it easy. So instead of going to my browser and typing in, what should I do on the 4th of July in Ocean Township, New Jersey, I go into Perplexity and I make it even more complex. What should I do on the 4th of July in New Jersey? I've got 2 kids. We want to eat this kind of food and that, and it gives me a whole roadmap. So like it's again, and I say this probably too much, but it's really building that muscle and that habit of using AI versus using the old ways of doing things that we're also accustomed to. So just getting my reps in every day. That's what I'm trying to do.
Perplexity is so good, man.
Oh, it's incredible.
This, you might find this funny or you might find this stupid, but like one of my go-to moves when I go to conferences is I know how to like do like a word of mouth karaoke night that ends up becoming like the thing that everybody talks about. Cause you go to, like you go to a conference, it's like adult summer camp, right? And then you do like this like after party karaoke night of like 20 people show up, everybody has a blast, everybody's talking about it the next day. And I used to suffer so much on Google looking for karaoke nights somewhere close to whatever. Now in Perplexity, I'm just like, I'm going to be at this conference. It's in this place. What's a karaoke night within a 15-minute Uber ride?
Yeah.
It just does it for me. It's completely commoditized my skills.
It's incredible. And for, people who listen to this, well, okay, great. You were able to find a karaoke bar quicker than what you could on Google, but I use it all the time for work. Just a real quick example, we're putting in washer dryers at a new property. I hired a plumber, he's doing measurements. It was a very specific washer dryer that I needed. And I wanted to find out where, if these even existed. And if I typed it into Google, it would have, a link to Lowe's and Home Depot, and I have to press on it and scroll down and compare my measurements to every single one that I clicked on. Perplexity, I put it in, it gave me 3 matches. It gave me where it's from, how long it would take, what's the price. And, in seconds, I was able to make a decision on the spot. Okay, this type of washer dryer does exist, so we can actually do this. And I ordered it right away in one click of the button. It was that simple, as opposed to, it would have taken me probably 20 minutes to do all that. And that stuff all adds up. It compounds. If I could save an hour a day where I could focus on bigger things, my career is going to be better, my salary is going to be better, my mental hygiene and just my overall emotional state will be better, because now I can focus on the more important stuff and not these manual kind of mundane tasks. So that's how I'm viewing all this.
I love it, man. Out of all the episodes that I've done so far exploring AI, I haven't really talked to anybody about like actual practical, like use Perplexity instead of whatever. And it makes such a big difference, man. I heard you talk on another podcast about like using it for professional and for personal, and how like both are like really, really important for you. Talk to me about how you did professional lead to personal and personal lead to professional, and kind of like, what do you even mean by personal and professional AI?
So professional, definitely right to personal. Yeah. Professional, when I mean, it's obviously the day job, it's the IndustrAI, it's the projects that I'm working on that I'm most excited about.
Yeah.
And where I could actually apply these things. If you work, 9 to 5s, I'm applying it for those 8 hours a day. The personal stuff, when I talk about personal, it's the example I mentioned before, July 4th, what do I do with my kids? It's a lot of parenting stuff. I'm going to Italy in September. Hey, I want to see this in Rome and we're ending up in Florence. Give me the plan there. Or my kid's acting up. I need a sounding board and a therapist to talk to right now, which is a little scary when you think about it. But honestly, I've spoken to ChatGPT and it made me feel better after, which take it as you may, but it's been super helpful a lot on the personal side with those kind of things, weekly activities, how to interact with my children on specific things, not relying on it to be a dad. But yeah, it's a lot more professional than it is personal. But the more I use it professionally, the more I'm building that kind of habit to use it in certain ways, personally as well.
Yeah, those 3 CEO memos, one of the things that they all said, actually, it was Spotify that said it. It was like, we need to move to reflexive use of AI, right? Like the instincts is just, it's no longer like, oh, let me think about this, and then how do I think about it AI? It's just like, the first thing you think of is I can do this with AI. And I find that for myself also, I've moved into that reflexive state where it's like, dude, we have this like new puppy, and it was early in the morning the other day, and my wife was giving me feedback on the puppy, and it was like 5 a.m, so I wasn't listening, and she raised her voice at me.
Right.
And, like we had like a little moment. And then afterwards I went back and I was like talking to ChatGPT, like, hey, like I want to give her feedback about this, but I don't want to come across like I'm upset, like use the Gottman method of like marriage
Yeah.
therapy and wrap this
Yep.
into some kind of, right. Like get really specific. And it helped me construct my feedback. And I was like, oh man, I'm being reflexive about this right now. It was a really cool
Right.
moment.
What a great example. And I love you being very personal. And I'm
Yeah.
also a fan of Gottman and all that. But I think, yeah, if I had heard that 8 or 9 months ago, I would have said, oh, we're continue to outsource our brain to these things, whereas we're not even thinking about it. We're just
Yeah.
using an LLM to tell us the answers, but it's not that. It's to give us resources for us to make our own kind of judgment and to be better. How great is that? All the research that you have at your fingertips, you could take it, use what you want, and then I'm sure you had a productive conversation with your wife. Whereas in the past, that might have been, oh, I don't really know what to say in this situation. And when you don't have confidence in situations like that, one wrong move, as you and I both know, could lead to things getting worse than better. So it's all just super helpful, in my opinion. And that's been the biggest switch is, again, this is a supplement. This is not me dumbing down my own kind of learning process or whatever it may be. It's only sped things up for me. So it's been great.
Yeah, man. The more I want to ask you kind of like where are you going for, like, what do you learn next and what you learn from, right? Because for me, some of the stuff we're talking about happens by happenstance of like these memos come out, or I'll go and read the AI driven leader, and that gives you this kind of like framework of using it as a thought partner, which is what I've like most moved into, which has become the most useful to me on everything, right? That's what's been reflexive to me, is kind of like what you're saying. Not like, hey monkey, go do this for me. And then if I don't like how it did it, then I think it's stupid, but just kind of like bouncing ideas back and forth of it. But like, is that how you're using it? You're using it as a thought partner, but you're also building out tools. Like you're also building out automations. Like you're in it.
Yeah, and maybe I'm looking at this too simplistically, but we're all, even with AI, we're all super busy still.
Yeah.
So they go hand in hand. The generative AI, where you're typing something into ChatGPT and you're getting results back. And then there's the agentic AI, where there's actually an AI agent doing something for you.
Mhm.
And that's what I'm most excited about. And then there's automations, which is similar, but of course it's, consistent, repetitive tasks that things just to get done. Those are the things, the AI agents and the automations, those are the things that I'm focusing on the most. Like I speak about this a lot. Claude has become, we talk about Perplexity, how much I love it. I love Claude just as much. And they have an MCP network that allows you to connect to all your favorite apps, your Outlooks, your Dropboxes, your Gmails, etc. And not only can you talk to Claude and have it pull information. So the generative stuff, hey, tell me about an email that I got from this person today and give me a summary. That's the generative stuff. The agentic stuff, it could also do. Hey, respond to this email or check my calendar and I need to schedule a call with Alex Jones and Steve, whoever. Find 30 to 60 minutes throughout this week that you think it makes sense to have the call. Book the Zoom call and send an email to everybody saying that this call has been booked and this is what we're talking about.
Let's go.
It does that in seconds. Whereas in the past, it's checking my calendar, hitting this time, finding their emails, putting it in,
Yeah.
then typing the email. Again, that might be a 7-minute task, maybe 5 minutes, but compound that over 20 of those per week.
Yeah.
Bam, I've got some of my life back. Like that kind of stuff. I'm like, okay. And I set that up a couple of weeks ago. And that stuff is what I love the most. The agentic
How you
stuff.
set that up, man. That's really sexy, right? Because
Yeah.
that might be a 6-minute task, or you might be ADD like me. And the moment that you start coordinating calendars with someone, I see something else on my calendar, and then I go down a rabbit hole, and it's a 1-hour task, right?
Yeah.
How did you set that up?
So the newsletter that's dropping on Thursday is another one. We're talking about that. But even still, it's like, how do I phrase this? Because it's not difficult. A non-technical person can do it, with the caveat then you might run into issues that you do need a technical person. And again, my partner at the IndustrAI is a engineer. And when I ran into an issue, I shared my screen with him and he's like, do this. And in seconds it was fixed. So it was nice having him for sure.
Yeah.
But it's pretty simple. You have to download the Claude desktop app, and through their MCP network and through Zapier, which if you don't know, I'm sure you do, but if people don't know what Zapier is, it's one of those automation tools where you can just plug a lot of different services into one another. They've got an MCP network where, okay, you have the Claude desktop, you go into, I think it's mcp.zapier.com, you put in your Claude credentials in there, it spits out some credentials, it'll ask you what you want to connect to. And it says we've got over 7,000 things you could connect Claude to. So again, I've connected to Dropbox, Outlook, Gmail, G Drive, etc. Pretty much everything I use. You take the credentials from Zapier, you plug it back into Claude, you're done. It's a simplistic way of doing it or talking about it.
The rest is a prompt. Like once you set all that up, the rest is like, hey, do this for me, prompted, and then you just troubleshoot a little bit, kind of thing.
You literally, once it's turned on, and I'm fine tuning it and I'm training my model. So essentially, like I have my Google Calendar and my Outlook calendar. If I type in, look for this person's name, right now I have to tell it to look at which calendar, but I'm training it to say, look at both. So there's stuff like that, but that's few and far between. It's to answer your question. Yes, it's just a prompt now. Hey, look at my email and tell me what are my top 5 priorities based off of what you think the most important emails are, kind of things. And I get that. Now you got to build that trust with it. You don't want to miss an important email that it missed.
Yeah.
But the more I use it, the more I spot check it, the more I train it, the more I trust it, and the more time I'm going to spend, because now I don't have to QA test it all the time. It's a pretty easy setup. Now I just go to that. We in this industry, from a technology perspective, I think over the past 5 years, everyone's, including myself, have chased these flashy objects, especially, and you and I were talking before about property management.
Yeah.
A lot on the property management side. Hey, I'm signing up for IndustrAI and funnel and opinion and this and that under the guise of, hey, property manager X or leasing agent Y, I'm going to make your life a lot easier. But like we spoke about before, it actually made life a lot harder because these were, point solutions that didn't talk to one another, at different dashboards, and it just led to a lot of overwhelm. With the things that I'm trying to do professionally on the asset management side and eventually on the property management side is consolidate, find places like the Claude MCP network where I just have to go there to get 20 different kind of things, as opposed to having to go to a bunch of different places to do things. So that's, you mentioned, you asked me about goals before. That's a goal, is to have, 3 tools. I could have 20 tools, but as long as I only have to use 2 of them and they talk to all the other ones, that's the goal.
What I keep hearing from you now, right? Like I'm not trying to insert words in your mouth in any way, but like a lot of what I try to help people understand, because I'm trying to understand it myself, is this dawn of agentic AI, right? Like it is a different thing, right? Like you already made the difference between generative, agentic, and then automation. And as a chief evangelist, I don't know if you're familiar with like kind of like that role in a company, right? But like my job is essentially to try to define the problem the best, right? Because he who can define the problem the best will be known to have the best solution, because they'll probably build the right solution if they understand the problem. And as I continue to understand how to define what is truly agentic, it comes back to things that you have just mentioned, right? It comes back to this idea of not having a new login, right? Like it not being a new place that you need to now remember a password for, log into, and it not feeling like a software at all, as much as like a teammate. And when you have a teammate, right, like what you were describing of what you're going through in your email calendar agent or whatever we're calling that is very similar to what my executive assistant, like the trust we had to build, right? Like for him to set meetings for me in my calendar, and for him to respond to emails for me at first took a lot of like coaching and training and doing these kinds of things. But as you do it more and more, like, I've been with him now for like 2 years and it's changed my life completely because I trust him wholeheartedly. If you can approach an agent in this manner to coordinate these kinds of things for you, it really starts to change the game. Like, are you already feeling it as a big shift in how you are approaching things and what you think is possible, or are you still early on in like the tinkering with it?
I think I'm in between. I'm sensing the big shift. Again, I started this journey about 6 months ago, so I am light years ahead of where I was, beginning of the year.
Yeah.
So I'm sensing the big shift. The more and more I dive into all this stuff and I see other people talk about it, I know how big this can be, especially people in other industries who have figured this out already. But I think the tinkering phase will always last. But yeah, I am where I want to be in terms of all of this and using it and benefiting from it. I am a fraction. I'm 5% of the way there. There's so much more. And that's not to overwhelm people who hear this. And that's also part of the reason why the IndustrAI was born, is to speed up the process, because it's almost like patchwork. It's YouTube, it's tutorials, it's courses that I've signed up for. But the tinkering phase, again, will always be there. But right now, because I want these tools so desperately, because I could see the big impact. Even at 5%, I see the big impact.
Yeah.
So you get me to 10, 15, 20.
Yeah.
The 4 hours I'm saving a week now turns into 10, and I could be a much better asset manager and manager of people than I am right now.
I mean, you call it the tinkering phase, but to me, it's like this new category of like, it's not tinkering with me and Brian. It's just leadership and like how to get somebody to work well with you. I think AI is going to move into that realm where it's just like, you're always going to be tinkering with it because it's always going to continue. Like, it's in a world of this much possibility. It's really kind of like, what is the new, how do you become a manager of agents is kind of like what I'm hearing you doing. So tinkering feels like the old word for it. And maybe now it's, agent leadership or agent management or something like that.
Yeah. And the things that I see other people build, and you have to take some of it with a grain of salt, but I know these things exist. These solopreneurs who figure out how to have 15 different AI agents. One's on customer support, one's on marketing, one's on accounting. Even if that works at 50%, how incredible is that? Like, I started a different business 5 years ago. I was spending, just an example that pops in my head, doesn't have anything to do with AI agents, but just AI. I think, and I'm embarrassed to admit this, I think we spent like $6,000 on a website. What I mentioned before, Lovable, I spent $60 for their premium subscription just to be able to do this. So all in, I think we spent $100. And we did it in, over the course of a day, as opposed to probably took us a month to get the designs for the website, to get it up and live, and $6,000. How incredible is that, especially for entrepreneurs, but anybody, that you could build these things so quickly and for cheap? Everybody should be doing this, whether you're an entrepreneur or an employee. All this is at your fingertips. So it's incredible just over the past couple of years what has come about.
Yeah, totally, man. Like, the power of your fingertips is crazy. This idea of compounding time savings off of your day in order to be more effective, more productive, happier, right? Like, do the things that you want to do is kind of like the whole, carrot with AI, right? But most people don't have the time that Jonathan has to like really tinker with this type of stuff. For a lot of people, what they need is out of the box solutions that deliver something like this. That's where Vendoroo comes in, right? Like, Vendoroo as a AI agent that can handle maintenance coordination for you can, for example, take calls from residents, right? Allow them to talk about all the things that's going on, synthesize that into what the actual issue is, create a work order from there, and even sometimes just help them troubleshoot it right on the spot. Imagine if all those calls that you got from residents were taken off of your plate. Imagine if every time that an owner asks you, hey, what's going on at this address, you didn't have to dive through a bunch of emails and a bunch of like different messages on different platforms. You could literally just ask the AI, hey, what's going on at 123 Main Street? Is the resident happy? And get a direct response and get right back to your owner. That's what Vendoroo does on day one for you, right? Like, able to take these things off of your plate, give you your time back to do the things you've always wanted to do, like grow your business, like spend more time like researching like more troublesome work orders, get your owners better pricing, right? Maybe grow relationships with vendors, stuff like that. If you haven't tried it yet, go to vendoroo.ai. Get your time back, man. It's out of the box. Get going on this AI revolution. Enjoy the rest of this conversation with Jonathan. I want to talk about two things that we didn't really prep much for it, right? Like, one is you keep making the distinction between asset manager and property manager. And I think it's really interesting because in the single family home property management space, the dialogue right now is we need to be asset manager, right? Like, they want to evolve into being asset managers to be felt like they see to have their value seen, because as property managers, they feel commoditized.
Yeah.
And I would love for you're coming from the multifamily perspective. How do you see the difference between those? And is there in your space, is there a world where the property manager is valued less than an actual asset manager? Like, is that something you guys talk about? Like, just shed some light on how you are distinguishing between those two things.
Well, not to ruffle any feathers, but for sure, I think most people value the asset manager over the property manager because it's just when you're an asset manager, you're part of the investment group. You have your hand in so many different things. But I'll stop there because I don't necessarily agree with that.
Yeah.
I think, and I tell my site staff this all the time. You guys on site are the most important piece of all this. You're the ones, I live in New York. Right now, all my deals are in New York, but historically for myself, for 10 plus years, my deals have been in Georgia, Alabama, Florida, states that
I Valdosta for a while, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. These are places that I would visit depending on the property, but on average, probably once a quarter. Obviously, if there's problems more often, but they're the eyes and ears. They are the brand ambassadors of these properties. They're the ones who are seeing what's going on. I always wanted to equip them with the autonomy to make certain decisions, given how important they were. But also, I tried, and I hope I did well at this. I wanted them to always see my perspective and not just ram things down their throat, and also it be a collaboration. We as asset managers are thinking whether it's single family, multifamily, office, retail, et cetera. Again, we're part of the investment group. We're taking the acquisition model. We're seeing what the business plan is, and it's our job to execute on that. So, it's leading teams, property management, construction management. It's really turned into, and it's been really great for my growth, more than just that marketing, accounting, whatever it may be, and really anything under the sun. But understanding the property management side of the business has made me such a better asset manager, has made me an operator. And that's my biggest distinction just personally. And I think I'm seeing more and more of this on the asset management side. It was easy to make money on deals between 2011 and 2021. Everybody was making money. So, okay, you're wasting money on X. Operations aren't as good as they could be. We're still making money because the basis was good. And most importantly, interest rates were low. Once that all changed in 22 and, the environment that we live in now, every dollar counts. So asset management, property management, it became the forefront of everything in this industry because you could take a good deal, or most like if you bought a deal in 21, 22, it's probably a bad deal because you bought it so high. But you really have to operate these things well. And that requires an asset manager who is the ultimate decision maker on the operations, in my opinion, to understand what property managers, leasing agents, maintenance supervisors, techs, marketers, accountants, what everyone's doing. So yes, certain people might value asset management over property management because asset management is not only I call it a leader of property management, but interacts with lenders, investors, principals, basically everybody. But for me, I tried to value my property managers just as much as people value me and give them the support, hold them accountable. That's most important, but give them the support, the resources, and the guidance that they need to ultimately succeed at their jobs. And the turnover in this business, I think, is a reflection of most asset managers not giving them that, support and resources. And without a good property manager or property management team, rather, the whole thing falls by the wayside because your rent doesn't get collected. You don't lease out the apartments. The work doesn't get done. And now you're in a mess. So hopefully I answered your question, but it's been a huge topic of mine. And me basically being a property manager for the past 4 years, just out of necessity, has shown me how hard that work is. So for the property managers listening, I value you to the nth degree.
It's super hard. It's thankless, right? Like a lot of like highly emotional kind of like moments of decision making. And I love how you explained it all. And where my head goes is I have this industry that wants to be seen as an asset manager instead of just a property manager. And then I also have this dialogue around of like property management will always be a people person business. So AI, boy, get out of here, right? Like, and when I hear you talking, I hear you saying that you're applying AI to the asset management side first before the property management side. And I wonder what kind of advice, like like, what does that mean? Like I don't know what that means, right? So if you're talking to a property manager, it's like, I'm hoping to be more of an asset manager, and I'm also hoping to implement AI, and you're seeing AI work on the asset management side of it. What is that nuance there that needs to be understood?
Well, I think for me, as an asset manager, you're doing different things than a property manager.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think a property manager is looking at refi scenarios or, all right, how can I push my NOI to get as high as it can be because I need to achieve a 15% IRR. They don't know what that stuff is. And, it's nice for them to know what the business plan is and what metrics we need to hit in order for this to be a successful outcome, whether it be a cash on cash return or a IRR on a sale. I think it's important for them to know that, but we're looking at two different things. So I think to answer the first part of it, yes, I'm focusing on myself because the training that I do, I'm training myself. So it's not as if I have to tell someone, hey, I want you to start using Claude more because it could help you in this, and that. Well, now they have to ramp up. They have to take the time. It's not as organic and natural as if them finding it themselves. So it's only natural for me to want to get as good as possible as this at this kind of stuff before I try to get my leasing agent to follow what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But in terms of property management being a people first business, I agree. But there's a middle ground. Everyone is also talking about centralization, which I'm a fan of. How do we centralize leasing? How do we centralize accounting? How do we centralize maintenance? Well, there's certain things that already are being centralized, and AI is doing a lot of it as well. So, I mean, the biggest, and I mentioned this to you before, the biggest thing that I've implemented at my properties is an AI leasing tool. Lease AI is the one that I like the best. It's the brand name. Everybody uses it for the most part, but there are a lot of other great ones as well. Funnel's got a good one. Apartment List is giving away one for free. But just that alone, as opposed to a leasing agent having to respond to a prospect that fills out a lead form on apartments.com or Zillow, and they might miss it, even if they're super efficient and they spend, there's 3 minutes between when the prospect submits that form and they respond.
Yep.
That's already too long, in my opinion. AI will pick it up in seconds and send an email, text, and even a phone call within like 30 seconds. And in sales, everyone knows the quicker you get to that prospect, the more likely you're going to sell to that person. So things like that, we implemented Elise AI on the collections front. My collection rate at my property in Valdosta, back to that property, we were collecting at 85% every month. It was a disaster. I put in Elise AI's collection module where they would just annoy everybody. Hey, your rent is late. Here are the ramifications. We did it in a polite way, but here are the ramifications if you don't pay your rent and you get evicted. It was part a reminder, part an educational tool because people didn't really realize what would happen if they got evicted. And our 85% turned into, I think at its peak, 96, 97. And I could attribute a lot of it to having that AI tool. So just things like that. Yes, leasing is still is still a people game. I think the self-guided tours, at least in my opinion, they have not worked for me because people want to walk around a property. They want with a person who can tell them about things and answer their questions in a human way, not an AI bot way. So I really think it's going to be a blend. It's not going to be a full replacement or a majority replacement, but I think with centralization with AI, you're going to reduce certain tasks and maybe even some headcount, but it's still going to be dominated by people, at least in my opinion, and I hope it remains that way. But yeah, those are the ways that I'm thinking about implementing or have already implemented AI in property management.
Makes sense, man. What is the kind of like current, when you look at the prop tech out there, right? Like the stuff in your space. I know that Elise AI has kind of like really made great headways, and that is kind of like a big, we are on the maintenance side, right? So it's like we see Elise AI as like, man, they've proven the model on the leasing side. So like now it's time to prove it on the maintenance side kind of thing. And we see that as a big point of leverage for us for like market validation. What is kind of like the state of like, from your perspective, PropTech offerings in AI? Like I saw you write a post on like Appfolio wasn't going to build a thing that you wanted to build, so you're building it, right? Kind of like, and I feel like there's just kind of like a big difference between existing architecture software rolling out AI features versus companies like Elise or companies like us that are AI natively solving the problem, and like how quickly that can actually work or not? Like, what is kind of like your take on where the tools are right now as far as providers for you, like an Elise or where it's at in the multifamily space?
I think it's a great question. I've never been more encouraged by the technology that this industry now has at its disposal. I spent really the past 7 months demoing. I think I went on over 150 demo calls just because I wanted to build this ridiculously good asset management, which includes property management playbook, and technology is a huge part of that. So the companies that I was able to just demo and play around with, I've never been more encouraged because there's so much out there. There's so many people trying to address the needs of the problems within this industry, whether it be people like me, ex-asset managers who were dealing with a problem, they started a company to fix it. Or I'm seeing a lot of people who don't have real estate backgrounds who see the value in addressing the problems within real estate, and they're building companies around that as well. So I've never been more encouraged by it, but I think, and it's what I mentioned before, the past couple of years, we all signed up for all these different things. And the more and more sponsors that I've spoken to, I spoke to a lot of tech companies, spoke to a lot of sponsors. Everyone is happy about that, but they also signed up with things not strategically, and now they're rolling it back. And now they're a bit weary of signing up for another product that maybe doesn't have the cachet that like an Elise has, maybe doesn't have the clear value proposition that some of these companies do. So there's a lot of companies out there that are trying to address the needs within this industry. And I'm a believer in them, and I'm signed up for things as well. But I too, even me trying to be this tech forward person, I'm a bit weary of signing up because, okay, I've seen it before. Who's implementing this thing on the, first and foremost? Is it the tech vendor side? Are they doing it for us? Is it our property management team? Do they have a tech implementer? Who's using this? Is it the property manager or leasing agent? Are they bought into this? This is on the heels of people, again, all these workers being inundated with all this tech. You really have to be strategic, and it really has to address the right need. And you really have to get that end user's buy-in in order for it to be successful. So that's where I stand right now. I've never been more encouraged by all the opportunity, all the tech that's out there, and all the resources coming our way, because we need it. But the tech adoption, I think, we as an industry went about it the wrong way over the past couple of years. And now we're tailoring it back down, and it's leading to consolidation, like I mentioned before. But that consolidation is probably leading to people missing out on opportunity and signing up for products that would actually help them. So I think there's something, and we don't need to get into this, but I think a huge need and a huge opportunity in this industry are for tech implementers, these tech guys like the Allens, my partner, for them to come in and say, hey, GP, or hey, property manager X, let me audit your business.
Yeah.
Let me see what your needs are and what your current tech stack is, come up with a plan, and then I could build it for you. And then here's the training.
Yeah.
If they could do it that way, as opposed to decision makers, C-suites, asset managers who aren't tech people, I think that would result in a lot higher tech adoption and tech adoption that lasts, as opposed to what's been happening. So that's my take.
That's a great opportunity, man. Like kind of like the same way that Salesforce has people that just make a living implementing Salesforce for people, or traction implementers or whatever, right? Like there's a massive shift happening, right? Like platform shift is happening right now, and whoever can guide that is going to do very well. And I got my buddy Jay Berube, who's started, at first they were a company, they were like a remote teammate company. Then they realized that people really needed coaching in order to like manage their remote teammates. And then he's made a really great name for himself as the AI guy in property management. And he's kind of like shifted into, okay, now we're AI implementation, and we get the remote team anyways, new categories lead to new categories.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that strategy stuff. What I really want to dive into though is, it sounds like you're telling me kind of like what your thesis of like the right buyer criteria is right now. And I'm just trying to extrapolate it from all the things you've said. Basically you said something that doesn't require you to log into a new portal, that works within the existing framework that you're doing, something that is easy to get the user endpoint buy-in from, and something that actually solves a big need that is like a gap, not just a incremental piece on something that you're already doing thing, right?
Those are the biggest things. Yeah.
What do you think is what do you think are the biggest, like, what would be like a transformational outcome of like a need that could be solved right now, like in that space? Like, what does that look like?
This might just be because I literally had a call about this before. There's so many different processes, whether it's centered around technology or whether it's centered around manual tasks. How do we keep track of all this? How do we hold people accountable to it? But most importantly, if I'm a leasing agent and I want to do XYZ processes, how do I ensure that I'm following everything to a T? And there's no real system for that. And I think, and I bring that up only because if you can marry this process guidance and automations and AI with the property management system, which is the central hub, which we haven't really spoken about. And people are trying to do this. And I spoke to someone before this call on it. If we can build a smarter property management system that actually gives me or gives us as a community what we need, as opposed to, oh, it's got all this data in disparate places and you got to go here for occupancy, you got to go here for collections. It doesn't give you any insights. It's all manual in a sense. If we could create a smarter property management system, I think we would all benefit from that. And I personally would love that. And that's not something that I'm, looking to do myself, because that's a big undertaking and I got to stay focused on one thing. But I've had a couple calls with some really interesting people that I've met over the past couple of months who want to address that. And I think if we could solve that, the smarter, more intelligent property management system, then you solve a lot of problems. You don't have the 20 dashboards. You've got the one, and it solves a lot of problems there. So I think that is the problem that I'm most interested in, because all these point solutions, or even connecting the Claudes to the property management system, it's still another place. And I'm still pulling up Appfolio, our property management system. If I could just pull that up and have a Claude little text box or a ChatGPT text box, and I could do a lot of the things there. That's the dream right there. And I think, and not that I think, I know people are working on that. I hope that they can execute on it, and I'm going to do my best to, with whatever power that I have, amplify that message, because that's fighting against the legacy thinking and systems, the Yardis, the Real Pages, the Entradas. That's a big goal of mine, is to bring in better technology, and it starts with that.
I love it, man. That's a good challenge. Anything we haven't hit on, man, that you want to hit on? Like you just brought up legacy thinking and stuff like that, which I feel like I should have dove into, but anything that we haven't spoken about that you think it'd be good to hit on, or anything else you want to bring up?
I mean, I think for you, the maintenance side, which is it's a huge thing for me that has candidly fallen through the cracks, but as of late, it's becoming the most important piece of everything, because as an asset manager, I'm trying to have the highest retention rate possible, because I see, and every asset manager knows this, and every property manager should know this as well. It costs so much money to lose a person. And I'm not talking about, hey, we want this classic unit back to renovate, because of course I want that. I want to get that $300 rent pop. But for a unit that's already renovated, I don't want to lose anybody, because especially here in New York City, broker fees, vacancy loss, turnover costs, all of that, it's just so expensive. And to keep someone, even if it's a small increase or a $0 increase, is more beneficial. But I bring that up because customer service keeps people. Obviously there's only so many things you can control, but pricing, customer service, those things are so important. And tenants want to feel valued. And pretty much everywhere I've gone, when I first inherited properties, the maintenance has always been terrible, because the systems are terrible. It's a text message to a super or a maintenance tech. It's a phone call to the leasing agent who writes it down on a piece of paper and puts it in a shelf for the maintenance supervisor to pick up. Historically, there haven't been good tracking systems. Now those are coming. And, I think you blur this out. I don't know much about your company, but I want to learn. But those, if we could get maintenance down to a T, where within 24 to 48 hours, 95% of the work orders are complete, and the other 5 to 10 are, oh, we had a call on the third party and the parts on back order, et cetera, we solve so many of the retention issues, because I've dealt with it myself. If my toilet doesn't work for 3 days and then you send me a 5% increase or a 3% increase, I'm probably looking elsewhere. But if the customer service has been great, I like the people I interact with, my feeling about this place is great, and moving is expensive. So that's, maintenance has become first and foremost for me, and centralizing that is impossible, because you need people to go. You can't have an AI agent just dealing with a broken toilet, but they could be a middleman who helps diagnose the issue first before it gets to a person. But but the maintenance side is the side that I have not neglected, but it's been lower on the list, and now it's much higher up for me.
Interesting. That's interesting. All right, man. Thanks for doing this.
Awesome.
I appreciate it.
Man. Great meeting you.
Yeah, cool. Good meeting you too, man.